Hi everyone, and welcome to the Vintage Company. I recently covered the history of Johnson & Johnson's Band-Aid, instant adhesive bandages invented in 1920 that have since become one of the most well-known brands in the United States. I'll link to that video here. While working on that video, I kept coming across these really incredible 1950s advertisements for Band-Aid plastic strips with super stick technology that demonstrated just how sticky Band-Aids were. Take a look at this commercial.
Look, here is the new Band-Aid plastic strip with new Super Stick. It sticks better than any other bandage. The proof? Take a dry egg at room temperature. Touch the egg with any other bandage. Brand X, brand Y, brand Z. Not one sticks. But a Band-Aid plastic strip with new Super Stick sticks tight instantly. Watch it again in slow motion. No pressure, yet we can lift the egg, even boil it. And the Band-Aid plastic strip never comes loose.
Maybe you don't want to broil eggs this way, but you do want the extra protection of Band-Aid plastic strips. They take better care of little cuts and scratches. They stay put.
Similar print advertisements showed Super Stick Band-Aids lifting a glass, even if it was filled with water. Other bandages must be pressed on, but just lay the end of a Band-Aid plastic strip with new Super Stick against a glass. It sticks at a touch. Without any pressure, it sticks so firmly you can lift the glass. You can even fill the glass with water, and this new Super Stick adhesive won't loosen. But it was the egg demonstration that made Super Stick famous and won widespread acceptance among consumers. For their part, Johnson & Johnson called Band-Aid plastic strips with Super Stick radical, and the most important change in the Band-Aid product since its introduction. Super Stick Band-Aids adhered instantly and reportedly stayed on longer than ever before, even if exposed to water. Johnson & Johnson was so confident in their patented Super Stick technology that they encouraged consumers to try the touch and lift test for themselves. So I thought it might be interesting to recreate this experiment and see if today's Band-Aids can live up to Super Stick's product claims. For today's experiment, I will be using Band-Aid Tough Strips, which, according to Johnson & Johnson, offer heavy-duty protection with Super Stick adhesive to stay on up to 24 hours. As far as I can tell, these are the only Band-Aid products today that still use Super Stick as part of its description. So I have here a Band-Aid Tough Strip, and right away I noticed a big difference from the Super Stick Band-Aids advertised in the 1950s. These tough strips are made from a kind of cloth material, whereas the original Super Stick Band-Aids were plastic strips. And you can see that the tough strips are not adhering to the egg at all. Even when I apply pressure, it still doesn't want to stick. The very edge of the strip did stay attached for just a second, and I was able to very briefly lift the egg. But overall, I think for this first round, the tough strips failed the egg test. Now, lucky for us, I actually have some vintage plastic Band-Aids, which I bought originally because I wanted to try out Band-Aid's string tear wrapper, where you pulled on a red thread to sterilely open a Band-Aid. I have no idea what year these plastic Band-Aids are from, or even if they are Super Stick, but they are definitely stickier to the touch than the tough strips. Now, these plastic strips still didn't immediately adhere to the egg as advertised, but it was a huge improvement over the tough strips. And when I applied a little bit of pressure, I was able to get the Band-Aid to stick to the egg and successfully lift it into the air. Now, I tried this experiment a second time because I was worried that the temperature of the egg was affecting the results. During the first experiment, the egg I used was from the refrigerator. And though it had been sitting out, I don't think it had reached room temperature and definitely was not the temperature of human skin. So for the second test, I used a room temperature egg. And you can see here that the tough strips still did not instantly adhere to the egg, and I once again had to apply pressure. And again, only the very edge of the Band-Aid actually stuck to the egg. But I was able to both lift the egg and move it without it falling. And with the room temperature egg, the plastic Band-Aid did almost adhere, but I still had to apply pressure in order to lift it. Now for the second part of our experiment, I wanted to see if the Band-Aid could still withstand the boiling water test. Now I didn't use the modern tough strips here because I felt like the vintage Band-Aid plastic strips I had were probably a closer match to the super stick plastic Band-Aids used in the commercial. In the first test, you can see that the plastic Band-Aid did indeed stick even in boiling water. After I lifted the egg back out, the Band-Aid detached and the egg fell to the bottom of the pot. Now the second test was a bit of a disaster because the moment the egg touched the boiling water, it pretty much exploded and I didn't even get the plastic Band-Aid fully submerged before it detached. And I had to quickly move my hand away from the heat and splatter of boiling water. I think the water was just too hot. However, if we play that commercial back, the water they used was definitely at a rapid boil, which suggests that the Band-Aid should be able to withstand high temperatures. I think it's also worth noting that in the commercial, the egg in Band-Aid is only shown submerged for maybe 4 or 5 seconds. And in the first test, I think I had mine submerged for about 8 seconds, so I may have left it in the water too long. But still, the actress was able to both submerge the egg in boiling water, pull it back out, and carry it to a counter. My egg in Band-Aid definitely did not make it that far. At the end of the day, if we take the 1950s commercial for Super Stick Band-Aids at its word that they can instantly adhere to an egg, lift it into the air, and remain attached even in boiling water, then today's Band-Aid tough strips with Super Stick technology are definitely not as sticky as their 1950s plastic counterparts. And neither are the vintage plastic Band-Aid strips I had. One of the things I talked about in my History of Johnson & Johnson's Band-Aid video is that in the 1960s, Keurig was able to gain share of the adhesive bandages market by advertising their product as ouchless. So not only did consumers want bandages that would stick and be long-lasting, they also wanted them not to reopen the scab when removed. And I think that modern Band-Aids are a reflection of that attitude. Stick but don't hurt. So the Super Stick technology hailed by Johnson & Johnson as radical in the 1950s is probably not the same technology in use for tough strips today, because it's probably not what consumers want anymore. So did the egg test work in the 1950s? I think probably yes. Under the right conditions, room temperature eggs, the right temperature water, leaving the eggs submerged for the exact right amount of time. But I wouldn't want to try the Band-Aid touch and lift test on a glass, especially if it was filled with water. If you enjoyed watching this video and would like to hear me talk about the history of other consumer products or test other vintage product claims, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to this channel below. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.